CEO Ronald Hickler from Creating the Difference. Today we're going to talk about interchangeable thumbs and maybe which one's best for you and your game. We're going to start by talking about a bowling ball that just has a regular thumb hole. This is something that right off the bat we just don't recommend you do, and I'm going to tell you why. So basically, when you use a regular thumb hole in a performance bowling ball, your thumb is going to encounter different types of materials. This is a bowling ball that have been cut in half, and you can see they look very, very different. There's a thin layer here that happens to be tacky. This layer here happens to be a little bit smooth, and this layer here happens to be very slick. Conversely, over here, it's a thick layer that's very tacky. This is super, super smooth, and this is actually very, very rough. This is actually a metal, believe it or not. So like, I've got a magnet right here. If I put the magnet on there, it just falls right down. But the moment I put the magnet right here on the metal, it's actually iron, it sticks. So you don't want to be touching these different types of materials, because if you do, you won't get a consistent feel, especially if you go from ball to ball. So at minimum, I would say you're going to put what's called a thumb solid or a thumb slug in your bowling ball. What that's going to do, it's going to mitigate those different feels, because it's going to go in and allow your thumb to just have one type of material touching it. So at the minimum, at least do a thumb solid or a thumb slug. Do not do just a regular thumb hole, especially in a performance bowling ball. But now we're going to talk about the different types of interchangeable thumb options that are available on the market. This isn't all of them, but these are the three most common. We'll first start with this one. This one happens to be called the turbo switch grip. So this one was kind of first in the industry that did it. One of the first, I should say. But this is one of the first that did it. And what's interesting about this is this mechanism that locks in is by far the quickest of the three options that I'm going to show you. So it's very simple. You stick it in there, you do a quick twist, and it's in. Now you can kind of feel when I go and lock it in, I can hear a little click, and I can feel that it's locked in. So it's super easy to do, super easy to install. If you're a player who doesn't have a whole lot of trouble with their thumb, doesn't experience a lot of issues with them doing like this in the thumb, this is probably a good system for you. If you're a player who likes to switch thumbs a lot, like if you're a guy who's always taking their thumb in and out, going from ball to ball to ball, this is super quick. This is a very, very good method and a very good way to be able to do that, because it's really, really simple. Now, conversely, if we go over here to Vice, this is the Vice IT system, interchangeable thumb system. It actually uses a unique mechanism. It's on the bottom. So the locking mechanism is here on the bottom. So when you put it in the bowling ball, you got to screw it into place. 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 4. But it locks into place at the bottom. Now, there's another advantage to this system over these two systems. And the advantage here is that because it locks in the bottom of the ball, you don't have to worry about some of the issues that can come and arise from the ball, the core, actually swelling. So bowling balls, believe it or not, because they're different materials, they expand and contract at different rates. So the materials sometimes can swell, and when they swell and you have what's called an outer sleeve, which both of these products actually do. This is Jopo, it's got an outer sleeve, and Turbo has an outer sleeve. That can actually put pressure on that outer sleeve. When that happens, it can make it a little bit more difficult to be able to get the thumb in and out. So the Vice system doesn't necessarily have that issue, because all of the mechanism that locks in is at the bottom. Now, conversely, the Jopo system, which this is one of the newer ones, Jopo is kind of unique in the fact that Jopo kind of has a combination of both Turbo with the locking tabs and then Vice with the locking threads. So it kind of has a little bit of both. Now, what that does is that makes this one the most secure of the three, but it also means it's going to be the longest to be able to get in and get out of the ball. Now, did you hear that? It's a loud click, so you definitely know when it's in. If you are a player that does a lot of this, has trouble with the thumb, maybe a moist thumb that every now and again gets hung up or caught, this is probably the system to go with, because it's going to be the most secure by far. But you got a bunch of bowling balls. If you have a bunch of different materials in your bowling balls, just beware that you may have to make sure that you get one of the removable tools, because these can get stuck. And in either one of these balls, honestly, Turbo's got a removable tool as well. They can get stuck. If they get stuck, you're going to need a tool to help get it out. So it's kind of like you're going to pick which way you're going to go with it. But again, so this is a good system. The other thing I would tell you is no matter what system you go with, talk to your pro shop about the inside piece. So the inside piece typically is made out of a similar material like this. You can get that in any of the systems that I'm showing you here. One of the cool things is you actually can go to your pro shop and have a copy or a mold made of your thumb. If you've got a mold made of your thumb, where they actually pour like a silicone material into an existing thumb that you've got and make a dead copy of it, they copy the bevel, they copy the shape. And as a matter of fact, this particular ball, this particular piece actually has a copy of a piece of tape in it. You can actually put a piece of tape and copy it as well. And if you do that, now you're guaranteed to get a consistent fit. I would also tell you, no matter what system you go with, make sure at minimum you have two. You say, why do you need two? Well, simple. What if one of them breaks? If one of them breaks, you need a backup. So it's always best just to have two. You also could have more than two, especially if you want to have a molded thumb and you're going to have different sizes of a molded thumb. What you would do is you would say, get you one, make it sure it's your best fitting one, and then if your hand typically swells, get you another dead copy made, have the Pro Shop operator on the drill press cut out a 30 thousandths cut, which is going to be a consistent cut, and then that way you've got one that's a little bit bigger. But at minimum, no matter what you use, at least have two of them in case one of them breaks. That way you can continue to be able to bowl. Also, what I would tell you is all three systems are good. They all work. They all are functional. So it really depends on how you plan on using them. If you are a player that wants to change all the time, maybe go with the turbo system. It's going to be the fastest. If you're a player who's got issues with the thumb, maybe go with the Jopo system because it's going to be the most secure. If you're a player who struggles with a bunch of different bowling balls from a bunch of different manufacturers, which now that core swelling issue can come into play, maybe go with Vice because the Vice system locks in the bottom. Also, one other thing that most people probably won't tell you is when you put these gigantic holes in bowling balls, that can create some issues when it comes to the durability of the bowling ball. You primarily see this becoming an issue with the spare ball. So let me show you really quick. So if you do with a spare ball and you roll over, when you're shooting the spares, you throw it hard and you roll over the thumb like this player does, you can create some cracking. Like you can create some cracking around the thumb hole area because of the constant impact and rolling over this gigantic hole in the bowling ball. If that is a case, something that you struggle with on a basis, then maybe what you could consider doing is going back and then your spare ball only going with a thumb solid, because the thumb solid is going to be smaller and it's going to be less prone, not perfect, but less prone to giving you that cracking. Now here's the thing, if you're going to go down this route, make sure your spare ball, this thumb hole is the best fitting thumb you own. Why? Because we all know strikes are for show, but spares are for dough. So you have to make sure this thumb hole feels amazing, because if this one doesn't feel amazing and you need a spare and you hang up in it because you didn't use your interchangeable, it's not worth it. So if that's the case, then say, okay, look, you know what? For my spare ball, we're just going to go with the thumb slug. I'm going to go with the durability aspect being a little bit higher because I'll roll over it and we're going to be fine. Or no, I could have an issue with the thumb on this ball. I'm going to go ahead and take the risk. Go ahead and put that in, put the interchangeable in this one, and then when it wears out, just get a new one. If you're making money, you can afford to buy another one. So anyway, just make sure that you are aware of that concern, potential concern as well. At the end of the day, you need to talk to your pro shop. They're going to be able to give you the best advice for what system that they use. Most pro shops don't carry all three, but they do carry one or maybe two. And you can talk to them about why do they recommend one or the other, or what do they recommend for you in your game. But at least now you have some more information about the different types of interchangeable options that are out there and kind of what you may decide will be best for you. When you get into a system, it's very easy to stay in that system, especially because each of the systems lock in differently. So if you get into one, consider staying in it. And if you're like, hey, well, I'm having trouble with one, know that there are other options available that do different things. So now you got more information about interchangeable thumbs. Remember, just don't do that. That's a terrible idea. Don't do a regular thumb hole. At minimum, do a thumb slug. If you have any more questions, man, just go to our website, ctdbowling.com, click the three little lines, join our regional staff, because our regional staff, we have conversations about this kind of stuff all the time, and we can give you some even more additional information and help and tips. Also, you also can email us at help@ctdbowling.com if you got any other questions about interchangeable thumbs, finger grips, no finger grips, those kind of things. We're here to help grow bowling. So on behalf of Creating the Difference, I am CEO Ronald Hicklin. Talk to you soon.